Hi, this is Michael Waits recording live from the Singapore FinTech Festival 2024. Thank you for joining us for this special edition of Insurance for the New Possible, where we discussed the most innovative ideas in FinTech. We are joined today by Sidharth Panwar, the head of digital product at Chubb APAC. Sid, thank you so much for joining us at the Singapore FinTech Festival 2024. How are you doing today, by the way?
I'm good. Thanks, Michael. And it's super excited to be here again. We connected last time as well in 2023. Loving the vibe, loving the communication, and it's just a fantastic community.
We love doing this with you as well.
Right.
Let's just jump right into this thing. Let's talk a little bit about Chubb Studio.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just give us a large overview of what Chubb Studio is?
Okay. So Chubb Studio is Chubb's flagship digital technology platform. We conceptualized this in 2018, 2019. And it's essentially to embed our digital insurance products and services, Chubb's digital insurance products and services, into partners' ecosystem. That partners' ecosystem could be a mobile app, it could be a transaction microsite, it could be any other medium or channel, right? We, as a platform, we support the full insurance lifecycle, starting from product discovery, pricing, sales, claims, servicing, payments, you name it. Most likely, we would have the technology capability to support the entire insurance lifecycle and the auxiliary services which come along with that.
Got it. What was the vision? You said back in 2018, you launched this, you decided to do it, but what was the vision around it at the beginning? And how has it evolved over time? Because back then, 2018, very different than what's happening in 2024.
100%. I think our vision has not changed since the time that we have conceptualized this. Our primary vision was how do we make our partners' life easier to integrate our insurance products and services in their ecosystem, right? And that has been, Sean also spoke about this. How do you extract the complexity which we typically see in the back-end systems, right? From a partner's perspective, how do we make it simple for them? How do we ensure that it is easier for them to come and integrate with our products and services in the most seamless and intuitive manner? The second part of the vision is also from a customer standpoint. How do we ensure that we are making our insurance products accessible at the most right amount of time, plus making it in a very meaningful manner from a customer standpoint, right? So these are predominantly the two visions that we have been steered with. And I think on the back of our mind, we are also conscious of the fact that Chubb also has a wider responsibility of ensuring that we are able to provide insurance services to a much more larger segment of customers, right? Especially in APAC and Latin America, wherein you see that their customers have been underinsured, right? And Chubb Studio is one critical solution which allows us to do that.
So when new products launch, right, if you go back to 2018 and you think, what can we accomplish? And then you think about what have we accomplished? Have the goals kind of grown over time, if you know what I mean? Because at the beginning you're thinking, this is going to be great, but we're not sure how great. But now you're kind of sure.
No, I think, yes, goals and the industry itself have gone through a transition in the past 6 or 7 years, right?
For sure.
And I remember when we started on, it was predominantly transactional microsites, which was the flavor of the game. And we had standard products like travel and PA. And that's about it. And if you see the shift that we have seen, right? So traditional microsites do exist for certain products, but they are kind of non-existent, right? And more and more customers and partners are moving into what we call as embedded experiences. And again, that has been obviously overdone, right? Almost everything is embedded. But again, you would find that even the products are evolving, right? So traditional products, which were like travel and PA, are valuable, but there is a flavor of that being distributed to a customer, right? I'll take an example of a very recent product that we did in one of our e-commerce partners in Thailand. That's a beauty product. All right. So in case if you're buying a beauty product, right, it could be a cream or something, you can get yourself that particular product, and that would ensure in case if you suffer a rash or an infection because of that, we basically reimburse the customer for that, right? That's where you are basically talking about addressing the exact customer need at the time when they are looking at that.
I would say that's a really great example of this, right? Because if I take you back to 2018 and say to you, are you going to be selling an embedded insurance product into an e-commerce site that's selling cosmetics and then insuring against rashes and inflammation? You would have said no.
100%.
Right?
And it took us a while as well to convince our product and underwriting team, because obviously it's just like you, they were not bought into the idea that this could be a successful proposition. But we have demonstrated this is one. There are a couple of other parametric products which we have done which again demonstrates that there's a shift in the way the products and propositions are being positioned to the customer.
Right. It's interesting. We talk a lot about the democratization of products and stuff like that, but this is not so much in that vein, but it really does mean that there's this latent demand out there for protection and coverage for things that maybe hadn't been considered back in 2018.
Exactly.
And that's kind of cool. Can we dig a little bit deeper into the tech here, if you don't mind? Like, what are some of the key tech capabilities? If I'm a partner, what do I need to know about?
So from a Chubb Studio standpoint, it's a platform, as I mentioned, right? It has essentially 5 to 6 products underneath that, right? We launched Connect as part of this Singapore FinTech Festival in 2023. So that's our partners and distribution portal, right? So in case if we have to expose any APIs or an SDK, that's where our partners come in and interact with, right? So that's the self-service portal, generally with just like any other API portal. Then we have what we call as Canvas. So that's our configuration and administration platform. This is where we would configure any products, journeys, any specific customizations for our partners, and that's where we would do. The third component is what we call as Catalyst. That's essentially our policy transaction engine, wherein we would typically manage our products, policy, pricing, rating, and the billing and the plumbing of it, right? So that's the heart of the platform. The third or the fourth one is Care, right? So Care is our what we call as the name implies, it's essentially our servicing and claims platform, right? So any claim or a servicing solution is typically powered by the Care. We also have what we call as Chubb Studio Payment Gateway or Checkout. That's our payment gateway, in-house payment gateway. You would imagine we are present in 54 markets, right? And multiple regions. There are multiple payment service providers that we interact with. And again, how do you abstract the complexity for every bespoke integration?
So the payments just look seamless to everybody, regardless.
So partner don't see that, right? Complexity. All they see is one API, which is for checkout. All they see is one API for reconciliation. And it's Chubb Studio Payment Gateway, which basically manages the complexity in the back end, right? So there are essentially 5. There are a few more things which are in pipeline. I would not go there, but and when we unveil them, it would be pretty apparent.
So I've had a similar experience with this that I don't think I've shared with you. I once did a trade that had to settle in 56 different countries, but it's the same thing. It had to be seamless to the client that was doing the trade. Everything just settled on time, all different dates, all different times and stuff like that. And the payments, like you said, that are seamless with the claims, with your payment checkout, mean that it has to be different in every place.
Correct.
And while it's super complex, it just looks like making a payment to somebody.
Exactly.
And
the other
cool.
use case could be our policy administration systems, right? So there are a variety of policy administration systems in the back end, right? But again, when it comes to partners, they don't see that, right? All they see is one standard uniform API, which gives them pricing and allows them to book a policy, right? Now it's up to us. How do we manage that? Whether it goes to policy admin 1, policy admin 2.
So in the same way that the products and the technology has changed on the back end, how has the engagement with the partners on the front end changed, right? Because as you learn more and more about the product and the tech, you also learn more and more about your partners and what they need. How has that engagement changed as well?
I would answer that with 2 aspects, right? One, traditionally, again, if I go back to 2017, 2018, banks were the only partners that typically engaged with the insurance companies.
So it was offline bank assurance into online bank assurance.
And again, even with the banks, it was predominantly offline channels. It was very little digital. They would do a travel microsite and they say, hey, we are digital. But and again, rest of the products were distributed by their RMs on an offline manner. Right, so we have seen a drastic change in that, right? So almost every product, even the traditional life products, which you talk about, life and wealth products, are all being digitized, right? So there are different ways that they are digitizing that. Beside banks, we have also seen with the advent of fintech and other players coming in, almost everybody realizes that insurance is no longer an auxiliary service, right? It's a value driver, right? And customers are expecting that. So you see that. There are partners from fintech, there are partners from e-commerce, there are partners from gig economy, you name it. Almost all verticals, e-commerce have in the past couple of years have really picked up well, right?
Absolutely.
And beauty protect, shipping protect, shipping delay protection. There are many such products which are making inroads into this. The second thing is essentially the medium of engagement, right? Traditionally, the medium of engagement was always microsites. Again, I'll go back to that. Now that has moved on to embedded experiences. And even with certain partners, they have also moved away from that embedded experiences wherein they want one-click experience, right? And again, the expectation is that the experience has to be richer and richer with, let's say, customer data pre-fill, with newer payment technologies, which is one-click Apple Pay, Google Pay, subscription services. So there are many ways that the partners are now demanding that the experience for insurance, just like there any other experience, is absolutely seamless,
Right.
absolutely frictionless. There's up and that's Sean also made yesterday a comment on this, wherein partners are expecting it's no longer, hey, I'm okay for you to host a site for which is a Chubb branded site in a different color, in a different one. They want to manage the experience and they want to make it seamless as it is for their own customer, right? So if you go to Lazada, they would expect the same experience should be exactly like Lazada, and Shopee would expect similar to Shopee.
So this is a really interesting point, right? This idea of the changing demands. Can you dig a little bit deeper into this as well? How do you work together with these bigger platforms, right? Before you said it was kind of offline bank assurance into online digital bank assurance, and really that was just microsites.
Mm-hmm.
But this idea of not white labeling, right? Mm-hmm. But providing the internals to allow companies like Lazada to make the experiences better for consumers, but also for institutional partners. How do you adapt to these kind of changing expectations?
I think I would say we have done a fairly good job at it, right? I remember in early part of 2023, one of our large banking partners in Hong Kong came back and said to us that, hey, we want to do a deliver. They had a transactional microsite, which
Right.
was all branded in their colors and all, but they were not seeing conversions as much as they should, right?
Interesting.
And they said, what in case if we basically move on to embedded experience for this? But hey, we don't have a capacity. I don't have any team which we can allocate or even prioritize for this initiative, right? So what we did was we basically created what we call as, again, it's a revolutionary product from a capability standpoint. We created a mobile SDK, a set of libraries which can be directly deployed in iOS and Android without partners development team lifting of, as in I wouldn't say it's an exaggeration lifting a finger, but it's pretty easy, right? All you have to do is integrate that library,
right,
and you get the entire experience, right? Similarly, over the last 6 months or so, we have kind of realized, and we are also noting this, that products and technology will become commoditized, or it is slowly becoming commoditized,
sure.
right? And that's where the partners are expecting that, hey, what's next? What can you do more, right? Everyone is offering me a product. Everyone is offering me more and more commission. Everybody comes and says that, hey, I have an API. Even if they don't have API,
right,
they have digital brokers,
yeah,
who can actually come and fulfill that gap, right?
Right.
So that's where there are conversations, what exactly can we do more? And this is where we are building up capabilities in terms of recommendations, right? Wherein you are basically creating bespoke products for every customer.
So
right?
that's what I want to ask you.
Now, Sidharth and Michael would get the same product, but different coverage levels, right? Different benefits, different add-ons. And that's where, plus, we are also getting sort of a demand wherein they do not want to part away with their data, right? So they want to ensure that the solutions that we are doing are hosted in their environment, which makes that our technology has to be completely platform agnostic.
Right, but this is a big change as well, right? Because before it was, and there are two things happening here, and maybe you can address both of them either together or separately, right? But again, when this first started, it was more pushing the product out to them and saying, we want to interact with you digitally. It's better for you, better distribution, better product development. And now they must be coming to you and saying, wait a second, now that we're part of this digital ecosystem, can you do this for us? We need to have these technologies built in for us. So I'm curious if that's happening. And then the second thing is, now they want to, like you said, integrate it. They want a partner native solution to them.
Yep.
How does that work too?
We still deliberating on what those solutions. We have a couple of ideas on what can be, and you would soon hear a new product being added to our portfolio of products, which we call as a capsule. As the name implies, it can be independently deployed in the platform of choice of the partner.
Right.
And the great part is that it is tech agnostic, right? So it can work in, let's say, a Google Cloud as much as it would work in Alibaba
Azure,
Cloud
whatever.
or Azure,
right,
or any other AWS provider. We also are making solutions which are data platform agnostic, right? So they can be deployed in Snowflake or any other data platform that they have, right? And then the best part is the partners don't have to part away with their customer data or any of the specific sensitive data which they may have. Right?
Understood.
The other thing which we are currently seeing, which also I spoke about, is it's a whole frictionless journey, right? So they expect the customer data to be pre-filled. You don't have to really do a form filling there, right? You don't have to process the payment.
This
you
is
don't
one of
have
my
to,
favorite parts
right?
of a digital experience is it's just there.
Correct.
I like it.
And the entire experience can be delivered in 1 or 2 clicks, because all you are doing is you're just reviewing that this is what it is and this is what your recommendation is. Once you are okay, you click on this and the payment.
So technological implementations in my mind are always about balance, right? They're trade-offs. How do you, and you talked about customizing, right, for every partner, but how do you balance this idea of, I want to make this just for you, with then the ability to scale to 200, 400, 600 potential partners? It's hard.
You're talking about something which keeps me awake every day, right? And it's interesting because that's the reason why we are so powerful, right? So and this I'm quoting actually a partner. They selected Chubb Studio and Chubb purely because we were the only ones. We said that, hey, we will configure our APIs, we'll configure our solution as per your needs, right? Now, how we do it is what we have created is a base foundational layer, right? So those capabilities do not change, and that's what we are scaling on. What we do is, for any partner, in case if they're asking for customizations, we have partner specific extensions which we do, right? So partner 1 would have a certain extension which is running on the base layer, and partner 2 would have its own, right? And again, those extensions could be partner specific, or those extensions could be also region specific or a country specific if there are such demands, right? And so that's how we do not, and again, we have not really fully matured on this. We are still learning how do we ensure that this is more scalable, but that's how we are currently catering to, right? So base foundation layer plus extensions.
Before I let you go, what kind of trends do you see driving the future of partnerships at Chubb Studio? And are there kind of necessary innovations that need to happen to drive that?
I think I explained this a little bit earlier as well, right? Partners are expecting much more deeper integrations, richer integrations. They do not want to part away with their data, right? So you would see solutions wherein the solutions are directly hosted in the partners app. The other thing which we are also seeing is that is what we call as a multi-carrier. We did that in one of the partners in, I think, 2022, right? Not every carrier like Chubb have underwriting appetite to underwrite all products, right? But the partners don't want to do multiple bespoke integrations with different carriers, right? And that's why digital brokers are also minting money, because they come and say, hey, you have to integrate with me, and I would basically fix the plumbing with the respective carriers.
Right.
But I would see, I definitely see us moving into a direction wherein almost all technology platforms will have to cater for some sort of a multi-carrier capabilities, right? Wherein you can say, hey, Chubb, in case if, let's say, in certain markets like Singapore, if we do not underwrite auto, I will have capability to bring in auto from a different carrier and provide seamless experience for, let's say, one of our partners here, right? So multi-carrier being one, and then there are a few other things which are also evolving in terms of, as I mentioned, right, products would getting commoditized, right? So you would also have to look into how do you innovate on your products and the propositions, and again, with the innovation also comes in as in. With the proposition, it's basically the product, right product, the bespoke product, a customized product specific to individual or a particular segment. That's also what we see shaping up as we roll this.
Really interesting stuff. I really want to thank you, Sidharth Panwar, the head of digital product at Chubb APAC. Thank you so much for doing this today.
Thank you, Michael.